I'm a 24-year-old female and my sister is 27. I'm married with 2 kids and my husband is also 24. My sister has told me it makes her feel insecure that I'm married with kids when she isn't. Personally, I think my sister is way cooler than me. She's in school to be a dentist, working very hard too in luxury retail. She used to tell me that all she ever wanted was a white Mercedes, and she bought herself a white Mercedes recently. I was so proud of her. Every penny I ever spend comes from my husband. Yeah, I have a nice car, not nearly as cool as hers, but I didn't buy it. My husband did. Same with everything else. He buys my clothes, my house, everything. She's a hard-working lady and she gets to spoil herself. She doesn't have to ask a man to do it for her, as I do, and while I love my husband more than anything in this world, I still look up to my sister. She has a new apartment with a backyard and invited my parents and me all over for a barbecue. I asked if I could bring the kids, and she said yes, but not my husband. I asked why, and she said it makes her feel insecure when we're in his presence. I asked why. She said I'm 3 years younger than her, and it makes her feel bad about herself because she doesn't have any kids and isn't married. Not to mention she has a boyfriend and he's friends with my husband. He has no problem with him at all. They were communicating about what we should bring. I told my sister I'd come alone because I didn't want to deal with 2 toddlers alone, but she said she'd help with them and wanted me to bring them, just not my husband. I said I could only bring one then, and she said to bring both no matter what. So I brought my husband. Her boyfriend greeted him, knowing he wasn't supposed to be there. I sat next to him inside, but she had me come over to where she was and asked if I could move away from my husband. I respectfully declined, and she went over and told him, "So that you know, you weren't invited." Now he feels like crap and he went home and I followed him. My sister is only a block away from us and we didn't drive. He said he didn't know they hated him and he thought it was all his fault. She said I knew it made her uncomfortable around him because she wasn't married yet. So, am I the idiot for bringing my husband? Everyone's the idiot here. Your sister is absolutely the idiot for the way she treats your husband. Full stop. You are also the idiot for not standing up for him and subjecting him to her abuse. Instead of telling her that you wouldn't go without him, so you'd be staying home, you brought him without telling him what was going on. Your husband is not an idiot. He's an innocent pawn. I'm calling BS on your sister's reasons. I think she's lying to you. She has a good job and is working towards a professional career, her own place, and a boyfriend. If she'd wanted to marry and have babies instead, why didn't she do that? It feels like there's something more at play here. Going out on a wild limb, maybe she fancies your husband, envies your relationship with him, and can't stand to see you together because she's jealous. See, if her insecurities are based on you being married with children, how come she's demanding you bring the kids? How come she's demanding you don't sit next to your husband when her boyfriend is there? That's what got me. If she's upset about not having a husband and children, wouldn't the children be as triggering as the husband? Something else happening there. On the one hand, she has a right to invite or exclude whomever she wants to her own home. You don't get to decide that for her. On the other hand, she's a lot. Please tell me this isn't a she got with her sister's ex situation. That was my thinking too. The older sister is weirdly obstinate about not being around the husband. There is a past between them, or her boyfriend told her something about the husband that OP doesn't know. Or maybe the sister has a thing for OP's husband. Update. Some people have the same concern I've had for 8 years now. I think my sister does have a crush on my husband, but I'm not 100% sure of that. The only evidence I have is sometimes I catch her staring at him and I'll say something silly like, "You like what you see?" and she'll say, "No, I just like his shirt." And sometimes she'll look at him and say to me, "I wish I had what you have," but I always assume she was talking about a family in general, not my husband specifically. A lot of you are totally right. I totally should have let my husband know, and I should have just told my sister straight up either I'm going with my husband or not at all. I didn't think of it like that. That being said, here's the real reason for this update. I took your guys' advice. I called her, apologised, and asked her straight up, "Do you have a crush on my husband?" She stuttered a ton and then said, "A little bit." So I think that answers it. Should her boyfriend know? Should my husband know? I don't know what the right thing to do here is. A few years ago, my dad had a pretty public affair. They thought they were being discreet, but everyone knew, with a woman about 15 years younger than him. My father was, up until this point, a very stoic, unemotional person, and this was totally out of character and everyone was talking about it. so he ended up leaving my mom for her. My mom was totally ice cold during all of this, and even as her son, I can't gauge if it hurt her or not. She had zero reaction. She never said anything bad about him. Even when I tried getting her to open up, she just wouldn't. But this is around the time I began dating my fiancé, and she didn't like her and began to ice me out as well. My father married his affair partner recently, and I proposed to my fiancé. We had an engagement party, probably the first time we were all together. Mother-in-law and her friends hate my dad and his fiancé because I think they worry about their husbands getting ideas. Mother-in-law made a snarky comment about how when men leave for a younger woman, isn't she supposed to be prettier? Of course, my dad might have done it wrong because my mom is much more attractive. All of her friends laughed and my dad's wife looked like she was dying inside. My mom told my mother-in-law to stop, and she didn't like women who pit women against each other, and said that his wife was beautiful. When we walked away, I told my mom that was very gracious and I was proud of her. I wasn't even talking to my fiancé, but she lost it. She said I was gross for praising my mum for being gracious when she should be a petty witch. She said I was an affair apologist, which made her nervous, and I should have laughed at her mom's comment. My mom called my fiancé an idiot and walked away. My fiancé is still upset I said that and keeps saying it was misogynistic in 1950s, but I can't really explain. Not the idiot. Your mom is the wronged party, so everyone should take her lead. The fact that your fiancé thinks public humiliation when it's someone else's event is okay is a red flag. You should be worried she'll pull petty BS on you. Agreed. Opie's mom is acting like a mature adult despite what went down with her ex. Mother-in-law, her friends, and Opie's fiancé act like immature schoolyard mean girls. Bullying is still wrong even if said bully feels they have a reason to do so. Opie, your mom has class and knows her worth. It wasn't worth her time to wallow over her cheating ex, and it isn't worth her time to engage in petty BS. Opie's fiancé may not be mature enough to understand the power in Opie's mom's response, not just graciousness. It makes her almost untouchable now as an object of pity and disgrace. She is her own woman who can see the truth without it diminishing her. Not everyone has to turn themselves into ugly people because something ugly happened to them. Your mom is a class act and you were right for telling her so. My older sister Tessa, 29, and I, 24 female, have never been close. She's hated me for as long as I can remember. She was never the big sister who would be there. I got bullied, she ignored it, even stayed silent about it and spent time with my bullies, one of which was her best friend's younger sister. I lost someone I cared about and she would lie to our parents and say she had comforted me when she hadn't. She would snap at me and turn away if I wanted to help her when she was going through anything. The best times were when she ignored my existence. When I was 12 and she was 17, we were left alone for a few hours and I took the opportunity to ask her what I'd done wrong and if I could fix it. She told me she'd never wanted a sibling and I was the thing she wished her parents could take back because I was a mistake. It crushed my little heart to hear those words, even if part of me knew it. My parents didn't hear about it until I was 16 and my sister had just gotten married. They were asking why I wasn't invited. I told them to leave it. They told me they couldn't leave it because I was her sister and there were other kids my age and younger invited to the wedding. I told them she didn't want me. They didn't believe me until I told them what she said. I told them not to force her because it wouldn't change anything. They didn't force an invite for me, but they did confront my sister and ask her how she could be so cruel and cold and told her to grow up. They did go to her wedding, just in case anyone asks. We've not been in each other's lives at all. She has made no effort to reach out to me. But once she learned I was pregnant, things changed. Kind of. She wants to be an aunt to my child. She wants to know my child. But her feelings towards me have clearly not changed. Finally, my parents made me aware that she cannot have children and that she's probably realizing now how wrong she was. This doesn't change anything for me, and I do not want her in my child's life because I don't trust her not to try and turn my own child against me. She still hates me from the brief interaction we've had over this. She clearly doesn't want me more than she did at 5 or 21 for that matter when she got married. My parents want me to let her in and they want her to be invited to my baby shower. I said no. They told me to think of the baby, that the baby should be allowed to have a relationship with their aunt. I said no. They begged. I told them no again. They left it for a bit, but now that the date for the shower was coming closer, they asked again and she called again. I told my parents she was not welcome and that if they tried to bring her, they'd be kicked out of my shower. Now my parents are mad at me and they tell me what I'm doing is just as bad as what she did. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot, heck no. Keep that idiot away from your child. If she wants kids in her life, she can attempt to, with her attitude, adopt or hang out with her friends' kids, if she has any friends. If not, tough luck. She will seriously probably try to take your kid from you. She will make up lies, put them in your kid's head, call CPS and try to get custody. You share genes, so the kid will resemble her. She could pass them off as her own to people, like she would ever admit you made that beautiful baby, and she wants kids but can't have her own. Now, coincidentally, she's going to change towards you? Nope. Absolutely nope. My thoughts exactly. I wouldn't even allow her parents to babysit in fear of her taking the child or them allowing her to create a relationship with the child behind her back. She hated you all your life, bullied you, called you a mistake that shouldn't exist, and actively alienated you. Now you have something that she can't have, and she wants you to share it. Heck no. Tell her she deserves the same amount of consideration she gave you. None. She hasn't realized she was wrong. Therefore, you have every reason not to trust her, and if I were you, I'd make it very clear to your parents that you do not want her in your child's life. Make it clear that if they betray your trust in this matter, they risk not having a relationship with your child. So I, 22 female, recently started working at a prestigious company that is unfortunately very male-dominated. On my team, for example, I'm the only woman. There are Asian guys and another black guy, but it's mostly white dudes. And this is one of the more diverse teams. As a woman of colour, it's been a challenging and often an isolating experience. Anyway, one of my co-workers, Max, is the nephew of the CFO, and we started our roles at the same time. He's a white guy, an entitled idiot, and incompetent in my opinion. He's disliked me from the very start, often trying to start arguments, being overly competitive, etc. It was difficult dealing with this because I didn't want to lose my job. Anyway, last month an incident occurred where my boss chose me over Max to accompany him to an industry event. This really upset Max, who assumed he'd be invited. He's been acting like a bigger idiot ever since. This all came to a head when I got lunch with my female colleague from another department. Max insisted on joining us. He started questioning me about the event, but I wasn't interested in discussing that. Then he accused me of manipulating people to get ahead. Ridiculous. And that our boss wanted to show off his exotic diversity hire. For your information, I come from a poor, dysfunctional background, and Max joked that I tick a lot of boxes. We argued back and forth, with him accusing me of having it easy, again ridiculous, till he once again said that I'm an obvious diversity hire bimbo. I was extremely angry and told him that he's a privileged nepotism baby who gets things handed over to him. I said he'll forever bask in mediocrity, blissfully unaware of how utterly incompetent he truly is. I also told him that nobody will ever say that to his face, so he should be happy I'm doing him a favour. I said this knowing full well that I'd lose my job in the worst-case scenario. Our colleague gasped immediately and told me to apologise to Max, who looked taken aback and confused. However, I didn't apologise and just left. Later on, Max told me that what I said was messed up and crossed the line. He claimed that he didn't insult me and that I took it way too far. Then he said I'm lucky that he's choosing not to report this. Am I the idiot in this situation? He's too embarrassed to report this because what you said is true. I'm curious, did your co-worker also gasp at the racist and misogynistic things this guy said and demand he apologizes to you? I guess not. Not the idiot, and I wish I'd been a fly on the wall to see Nepo Dude's smug and entitled demeanor crumble. Wow, so now we know your co-worker isn't an ally, let alone a good friend. She's trash as well. You need to report him to HR immediately, regardless of what he said. This guy is supposedly connected to management, and he's harassing you based on at least 2 protected classes, race and gender, and throwing in harassment, the bimbo line. He's now threatening to take you to HR. You can't let this stand. If he goes to his uncle and takes his uncle to HR before you get your story out, it'll look like you're making up your accusations to get back at him. Realize, though, that this will make things tough in the company for you. Your co-workers might be backing him up, which is very troubling for you. Get ahead of this now because he will start a whisper campaign against you. My fiancée Diane and I have been together for almost a decade. I met her in my second year of uni and it's been fantastic ever since. She's lovely and I cannot wait to marry her. For most of our relationship, my mom hated Diane for no reason. My mom would harass my fiancée, call her the most disgusting names, and act like a teenage bully. It got so bad that I stopped speaking to my mom for years. About 2 years ago, my mum apologised for treating Diane poorly and wanted to welcome her into the family. It was somewhat unexpected. My mum never explained herself, only apologised for her past actions. Diane and I have accepted her apology, but my relationship with my mum has never quite been the same. I kept her at a distance because even if she did apologise, she did cause me a lot of pain. Diane and my mum share a birthday. It's not a big deal, but my mum acts like it's the biggest deal on earth. She used to turn her birthday into a competition of who gets the better gift. It was exhausting and was one of the reasons I stopped talking to her. Since her apology, her behaviour surrounding her birthday has not been as extreme, but is still a little passive-aggressive. My mum and Diane's birthday was a few months ago, so unfortunately we couldn't celebrate my mum's birthday the day of, but I took her out for a relaxing spa day and dinner at an upscale restaurant. We celebrated a romantic week in Paris for Diane's birthday where I proposed. We had an amazing time and I'm so glad I can finally call her my fiancée. Diane is happy and I'm happy. My mum didn't say anything about our proposal, but I assume she was happy for us or neutral. Then, a few days ago, I got a call from her. She was crying. She was screaming names at me, calling me a terrible son, and wishing me a horrible marriage. My mum told me that she felt neglected on her birthday and it was unfair that Diane got a romantic vacation and an expensive ring while she was left with scraps. I thought this was ridiculous, and I told my mum that she should be grateful for her scraps and stop acting like a spoiled child. However, she didn't handle my words well and cursed me out more before hanging up. Diane thinks I should have handled this situation more tactfully to avoid causing my mum more emotional distress. Edit. My mum raised me entirely by herself. My dad left when I was young, and I've never spoken to him. Not the idiot! Scraps? It's ridiculous! She's ridiculous. This is your fiancé. I love my mom, but she's never going to get what my wife does regarding gift value. Your mum is not married to you, she knows that, right? However, her reaction is so over the top and completely inappropriate. Keep setting boundaries. If your mother thinks it's a contest between her and your fiancé and is carrying on like this so soon after your reconciliation, it's no time to be throwing her bones. It's time to either completely set her straight and tell her she's on her very last chance, or let go of the whole mess and part ways again. I agree. Your mom is treating you like her husband. It's so weird. Like, did she want a romantic vacation and an engagement ring too? A spa day and an excellent restaurant are still really nice gifts. Time to go no contact with her again. She will only bring toxicity to your relationship.